he asked about what does Islam say about music. Well, I'm going to quote what our predecessors, and I mean by saying so our rightly guided companions, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abdullah ibn Umar ibn Khattab, those great companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom you can say they were the best interpreters of the Quran and the commentators of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So shall I begin with the hadith which is collected by Imam Bukhari, in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا يكونن من أمتي أقوام يستحلون الحر والحرير والخمر والمعازف. The Prophet ﷺ was inspired by Allah in many occasions to give some prophecies of things which will happen in the future, near the end of time, prophecies of the signs of the Day of Judgment, major and minor signs, also some changes that will take place in his ummah, some conquests and openings that the ummah will experience, some changes will happen to his ummah, the future generations. And among that he said that the time will come and some of members of my ummah, aqwamun, they will perceive and consider as lawful the following practices. All of them were put in one basket: al-hira, al-harir, al-khamra, al-ma'azif. Okay, what is khamr? We all know khamr, alcoholic beverages. Okay, al-harir, wearing silk for men. Al-hira refers to adultery or fornication. So al-hira, al-harir, al-khamr. The three items are, we all know that indulging into of these activities is a major sin. Then the fourth was al-ma'azif. And al-ma'azif in Arabic refers to the musical instruments. So this hadith, which is collected by Imam Bukhari, let the vast majority of the Muslim scholars perceive any of the musical instruments except which was played during the life of the Prophet ﷺ in certain occasions, such as the weddings and the holiday celebrations, which is the duff. The duff is haram except for the duff, because it was played during the life of the Prophet ﷺ in these occasions. So the piano, the flute, the whatever that people use is all included, and many of these musical instruments were known even before the Prophet ﷺ. So what he said, that putting these four items in one bundle and said, guess what? The time will come where some members of my ummah will perceive these prohibitions as lawful. So that indicates currently it's haram, and the time will come where some people will perceive them as lawful. So they based their opinion with regards to the prohibition of the musical instruments, whether with songs or without singing, as forbidden except for the duff in these occasions. Then also in Surah Luqman, we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the beginning, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَهْوَ الْحَدِيثِ لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. There are some people who purchase lahwa al-hadith in order to mislead, divert, and hinder people from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Abdullah ibn Abbas said, the word lahwa al-hadith, the vain talk, refers to singing. Not any singing, of course. The singing songs of love affairs, or whatever incites the fitna and the lustful desires. Okay? Otherwise, they used to have nasheed, and they used to have many songs which sometimes for commemorating certain remembrance, as Yawm Bu'ath, the day of the Battle of Bu'ath, or on some of the events such as building the masjid, digging the trench. And the Prophet ﷺ heard them chanting and singing and did not object to that. Okay? But lahwa al-hadith, which 99.9% of what we hear nowadays, brothers and sisters, of those songs whether it's rock and roll, whether it's jazz music, whether it's whatever, and people jumping back and forth, men and women, maybe smoking, maybe drinking, maybe doing whatever. The total sum is this whole picture has no room in Islam. Has no room in Islam. But playing the duff in the weddings, in the celebrations, in the festivals, that is permissible. Chanting those beautiful songs and nasheed, which the words are halal, is also halal. Barakallah feek.